Hi there. Let me ask you something straight. We spend years in school doing math, history, science, even learning how plants make food. But did anyone ever sit you down and explain taxes? Of course not. We just got told, do your homework, get good grades, pass the test. But the one thing that decides how much money you keep once you start working, not a word. So today, let's fix that. Let's talk about what school skipped about taxes. Chapter 1. The lesson that schools never taught you. Let's go to your school. You probably solved problems like, if Johnny buys 3 apples at 50 cents each, how much does he spend? But the real question should have been, if Johnny earns $100 mowing lawns and the government takes 20%, how much does he keep? Big difference, right? One question helps with groceries. The other actually helps with life. But we only learned the first. Which is why most of us leave school knowing how to find the area of a triangle, but having no idea how much money we'll take home at our first job. Chapter 2. What are taxes really? Let's strip it down. Taxes go like this. You make money. The government takes some. You keep what's left. Why? Because governments need cash to run. They spend it on things like roads, schools, hospitals, police and fire, garbage pickup, street lights, public parks. So basically, taxes are the price of living in a working country. Without them, there's no clean water, no teachers, no fire trucks when your house is on fire. Sounds fine, yeah? But here's the catch. Nobody ever explains the rules properly. Chapter 3. The first paycheck shock. Picture this. You land your first job. They tell you, congrats, you'll make $2,000 a month. You're pumped. Already planning clothes, gadgets, maybe even a trip. But then paycheck comes. And it's not $2,000, it's $1,600. Wait, where did the $400 vanish? That's your first painful tax lesson. And guess what? It's not one time. It happens every paycheck, every single year, your whole working life. But school, it never mentioned it. Chapter 4. The different types of taxes. There isn't just one tax. There are loads. Income tax comes straight out of your pay. Sales tax extra on top when you buy stuff. Property tax. Own a house, you owe every year. Payroll tax for Social Security and Medicare. Capital gains tax. Sell stocks, crypto or property. Government takes a slice. Estate tax. Even when you die, part of what you leave can be taxed. Gas tax every time you fill the tank. Sin tax on alcohol, cigarettes, junk food in some places, import divided by export tax, paid on stuff moving across borders. It's like carrying a bag of cash through life. And at every stop, someone grabs a handful. Chapter 5. The lemonade stand story. Here's the kid version. You set up a lemonade stand, $1 a cup. Day 1, you sell 20 cups equals $20. You're happy. Then your older brother walks in. Hey, I'm the government. Hand me 20% of that. So now you keep $16, not $20. You worked, you sold, you stood in the Sunday, but someone else took a piece. That's taxes. Now imagine this. A neighbor says, pay $1 to use the sidewalk, property tax. Another says, 10 cents every sale, sales tax. And your cousin goes, give me $1 so I'll protect your stand, security tax. Suddenly, that $20 feels tiny. That's exactly how adults feel every payday. Chapter 6. Why didn't schools teach us? Good question. Why didn't schools explain all this? Here are some reasons. It's complicated. Taxes aren't the same for everyone. It wasn't on the test. Schools often focus on memorization, not real-life skills. It keeps people in the system. If you don't know the rules, you just pay whatever is asked. But the result? Not knowing costs you money. Chapter 7. The secret about taxes. Here's the truth school never told you. Taxes aren't just bills you pay. There's something you can control. Wealthy people don't just earn money. They figure out how to keep it. They use things like writing off business costs, investing in property, putting money into retirement accounts, donating to charities, and paying pros who know every loophole. Meanwhile, the average person, they just shrug and take whatever number shows up on the paycheck. Chapter 8. The game nobody told you about. Think of taxes like a game. The government writes the rule book. Most people never read it, so they play blindfolded. And they lose. But the wealthy, they read the rules, they play smart. That's why sometimes a billionaire pays a lower tax percentage than a nurse or teacher. Unfair? Absolutely. But it's reality. Chapter 9. Taxes shape your life. Here's something wild. Taxes secretly shape your future. They influence where you live, what job you take, how much money you save, even when you retire. Example, 2 people make $50,000 a year. One learns tax saving tricks. The other doesn't. Fast forward 20 years, one is free, the other is still struggling. Same income, different knowledge, totally different lives. Chapter 10, The Missing Piece of Education. So, what should we have learned in school? The basics, how tax brackets work, the difference between gross pay and net pay, what deductions and credits are, why keeping receipts sometimes matters, how investing can affect your taxes, why tax season is more like tax year. It may sound boring, but it's the difference between losing money and building wealth. Chapter 11, The Scary Side of Ignorance. Here's the trap. If you don't understand taxes, you can get into trouble. File them wrong. Penalties. Forget them debt. Avoid them, even jail. It's like being handed a test with no study guide. If you fail, you pay the price. Chapter 12, Different Places, Different Rules. Taxes also change depending on where you live. In Scandinavia, taxes are high, but healthcare and college are free. In the US, taxes are lower, but you pay for healthcare and education yourself. In Dubai, there's no income tax, but the cost of living is sky high. So when people argue about taxes, they're really arguing about what kind of society they want. Chapter 13, The Billionaire Example. Let's look at billionaires. How do they keep so much money? They don't just earn salaries. They earn in ways that are taxed less. Stocks, real estate, businesses. That's why, sometimes, on paper, a billionaire pays a smaller percentage than a middle-class worker. It's not magic. It's knowing the rules. Chapter 14, What you can do. So what can you do? Start small. Read your paycheck carefully. Learn about deductions like education expenses, healthcare, and work-related costs. Don't wait until April. Think about taxes all year. Ask questions. Knowledge is power. Remember, every dollar you save on taxes is a dollar you keep. Chapter 15, Why Silence Isn't an Accident. Here's a tough truth. If schools had taught taxes, more people would ask questions like, why do billionaires pay less percentage than workers? Why are some tax systems unfair? Who writes the rules and why? Maybe schools stayed silent because keeping people uninformed keeps the system running smoothly. Chapter 16, Final Thoughts. So, what schools never taught you about taxes boils down to this. Taxes aren't just numbers. They shape your whole life. The system isn't fair, but the rules are out there if you learn them. Understanding taxes is the difference between being stuck and being free. Here's the real exam question schools never gave you. If you keep working hard but never learn the rules of taxes, who's really winning you or the system? Think about it.